You are now listening to the Vitalize Podcast. Hey yo, what up, family? Welcome back to the Vitalize Podcast. You're here with your friendly neighborhood host, Mr. Marcus Black, and Mr. Because You Can, my incredible cowbell man. Officially, this is a proud product of Mississippi State University, who I am a mega fan. Mississippi State University, you see this was a custom bell, man. I want to shout out right now this episode's official sponsor. You can't see it inside this bell, but it says The Bell Smith. I'm going to tag them. You can find them. Listen, if you have any cowbell needs, they probably can help you out when they're not so busy fulfilling the thousands upon thousands of custom orders they get from all the other raving Mississippi State University fans like myself. But this one was a custom order, man. They brought it to life. This is my alternate logo, which you also see on my wrist. If you're listening to this, you don't see anything. But if you're watching this, then you will see this incredible, beautiful maroon cowbell with a hand-dipped, painted, with a metallic shine. And guess what it says on the back, guys? It says, because you can. So this will be on the backdrop of the visual today because I'm rocking my official Mississippi State University football jersey that dropped this year in the dark mode alternate. And it's black. Shout out to the team, and shout out to the squad, shout out to the Bulldogs, shout out to the coach, and just huge part of my life. I'll talk about that. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to do an episode about that next. But before I do that, you know what? Actually, I don't know if this has ever happened, but it's about to happen right now. We are about to have an entire change of plans right now on the fly. So this is a very In Black Speaks thing to do, but this is what's going to happen because why not? You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here looking at this jersey. I'm sitting here looking at this cowbell, which some of you are like, why is there a cowbell? What does a cowbell have to do with a bulldog, which is their logo? You don't understand. You don't understand. I'm going to tell you, and I'll be happy to tell you. I'll tell you that story after. Matter of fact, I'll tell you that story now, so this is fun. So go ahead and get your popcorn ready. If you're new here, what am I talking about? Listen, this is the Vitalize Podcast. The Vitalize Podcast is all about giving life. So we talk about a myriad of topics, but every topic is all about giving life to you. Inspiration, motivation, affirmation, all positivity, all day. That's what we do. I am not a rapper. I am just very good at not getting tongue-tied all the time because I used to practice Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers back in the day. So Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and Peter a peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pecks of pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick? Yo, so some of you are like, what just happened? In Black Speaks just happened. Lots of energy, lots of gas, feeling good, feeling great, feeling so excited, elated, and ecstatic to be here. But if you're here, man, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Two things I promise to never do. I promise to never waste your time, and I promise to never bore you. And I can guarantee right now you are not bored, but you might wonder what this has to do with your time, and is this a worthy investment of your time? And all I can tell you about that is if you stick around, I promise to pay it off. If you stick around, I promise to pay it off. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories, and one of the reasons I'm going to tell you these stories is because I was trained by Les Brown, one of the greatest speakers of all time, and he taught me to never tell a story without making a point, but to also never make a point without telling a story. This is something that he taught me, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to right now tell you a story, but it's going to have a point, so if you stick around, I promise it'll be worth your while. But the first story is, why do you have a cowbell on the video? And I would ring it for you, but I don't want to. That's very light. That was like 17%. It can get much louder and much more obnoxious, but I will spare you and your ears right now. So, as the legend goes, Mississippi State was battling our bitter rivals like over 100 years ago. So this is like a very old tradition. Over 100 years ago, we're battling our bitter rivals and we're playing them, Ole Miss, and it's a stalemate game. It's like nobody could get the upper hand. Nobody could get an advantage, and it's like not a good game. And then they take the lead, and we are losing to our bitter rivals, Old Mississippi, the rebels of Old Mississippi. And we're like, nah, bro, we are good. We're good. Like, we're going to be all right. But we weren't all right because a cow happened to wander onto the field. And some of you are like, how is that possible? Because it was over 100 years ago and stadiums weren't like they were now. They weren't big and closed and like fortresses of greatness. They were like a couple of bleachers and some chairs. So as this cow stumbled onto the field, it delayed the game. And they could not get this cow off the field. And so the cow stayed on the field, and they're like fighting and pushing and trying to get this ox off the field. And this thing is like just so stubborn. They can't get the cow off the field. So finally, after like, I don't know how long it is. I've heard multiple variations of the story, but you get the point. Like after a very long period of time of not being able to get the cow off the field, somebody who wasn't even at the game, some farmer comes onto the field with his cowbell, and he goes a ring ding dong, and he rings this bell, and the cow starts moving, and he rings and he rings and he rings, and the cow gets off the field. And as the legend has it, Mississippi State University not only comes back and wins, we beat our bitter rivals. And ever since that day, the cowbell has been a symbol of hope, good faith, and prosperity for Mississippi State University. That is why tradition matters. And that is why we are the only university in all of America that is allowed to have artificial noisemakers in our environment when opposing teams come and play. And a lot of people may feel like that's not fair, but I don't know what to tell you. Argue with your mama. It's tradition, and tradition matters in this country. So there is that. And so now, why am I a mega fan of Mississippi State? I'm so glad you asked. Because I have people ask me this all the time, like, how many degrees do you have from them? How much money did you pay this university to be such a mega fan? And the answer to that question is, I don't have a singular degree from Mississippi State University. I don't at all. But, it's crazy how you watch my tone shift here as I begin to think about what it is I'm about to share with you. The reason I am such a huge mega fan of Mississippi State University is because it taught me how to believe. They taught me how to believe. When life wasn't so great for me, when things were a little bit more difficult, when days were a little bit harder to get through, when there were different traumas that I was facing and adversities I was facing as a small kid, I was forming a foundation of who I would be in the world. And that belief was a little tough. It was a little tough to have belief. And I remember one of the good days in my childhood was a Friday night, and one of the things my dad and his brothers used to do was go catch some Friday night football, right? Well, I don't know if many of you even know where I'm from. So I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, heart of the South, and raised in Mississippi, definitely the heart of the South. I was raised in Mississippi, but I was not raised close to Mississippi State. I was raised almost 3 hours away from Mississippi State. So I was raised 1 hour away from Ole Miss. So most people where I'm from like the other side, just not me. I'm good. But I happened to grow up much further away from Mississippi State. So it's like, but I grew up in Mississippi. So one Friday night, my dad takes me to a football game, and he takes me in the town that I grew up in, which was Hernando, Mississippi, and named after the Spanish conquistador Hernando de Soto, and who actually the Mississippi's credited with naming the Mississippi River. So a very historic place. And I grew up in this place, and I remember that Friday night at Hernando, Mississippi, being a small town kid from a small town of a couple of thousand people. I'm talking small, like real small. And when I went to that game, I remember hearing one name again and again and again. All I heard was Nakia Greer on the carry. I'll never forget that name to this day. Nakia Greer on the carry. Touchdown, Tigers. Nakia Greer with the touchdown, with the Tiger touchdown. Nakia Greer with the Tiger touchdown. Touchdown, Tigers. First down, Nakia Greer. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy. I'm a little kid. I just know I keep hearing his name again and again and again and again and again. And so I just thought that was so cool. Of course, Hernando wins the game. I fall in love with my high school because that's what happens when you're from small town, Southern America. And then I go about my life, right? Fast forward to the fall of that same year. I remember scrolling through Saturday morning cartoons. And as I was scrolling through the cartoons on Saturday morning, I came across a football game. And I will never forget this. I can see it clear as day. It was the Bulldogs versus the Bulldogs. It was Georgia versus Mississippi State. And both Bulldogs. But I just left it on there because I wasn't going to watch football. I wasn't like that into it like I am now. I was a kid. But I saw Mississippi on the TV, and I thought that was cool because I'm like, hey, I'm in Mississippi. That's Mississippi on TV. And, you know, being on TV today, I mean, this is like TV, right? The phone is TV. Any content creators, like everything is TV now. But y'all know, like, without fully dating myself, when I was a kid, being on TV was a big deal. The internet wasn't even in existence when I was a kid, so there was no streaming. There was no. Now, some people on the younger side of my community are like, this guy's a dinosaur. Not that old. I'm actually the last generation that lived fully in both generations. Fully in the generation before the internet and fully in the generation after the internet. I lived my life without cell phones and internet and all of that. And now very much I live in the world where those things exist. And I'm not saying which one is better or which one is not. But when I remember that Saturday, Mississippi's on the TV. It's a big deal. So I'm like, let me watch Mississippi. It wasn't old Mississippi. It was Mississippi State on the TV. And the first thing I saw was a kid run a big run. And I said, oh my goodness, Mississippi just had a big play. And I got really excited. And they said, oh my goodness, what a run by Nakia Greer, the all-star freshman from Hernando, Mississippi. And my little brain just like exploded. I might as well done 17 backflips in that moment because I just saw him. I just saw him. That kid is from where I'm from, and that put a different level of pride in me because for the first time in my life, it made me believe, wait a minute. If I can go in this little town of less than 2,000 people up the road and I can see a young man hearing his name all over the intercom and the same kid that I got the fist bump and see in my town for the Hernando Tigers is now on TV running the football at Mississippi State University. And that was the day that my heart fell in love with Mississippi State University. It's bigger. It's bigger than sports. It's not about the sports. And people are like, why you like such a bad team? I've heard people say that over the years. And like, it's not about a bad team, a good team. It is about a family. It's about a group of people who embodies what family really is, a community, a culture, a collective of people. Like I've been in 3 games last season. Plan on having season tickets next season, but I went to 3 games last season, and in those 3 games, we played Arizona State, which we won, Texas, and Ole Miss. I went to those 3 games, Texas, which we should have won, but that's neither here nor there. That's another conversation. We had a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, but anyway, we were there, and it was homecoming. It was an incredible experience, but I had so many strangers. When we beat Arizona State, a stranger literally jumped into my arms and said, yes, brother, we did it. My wife looked at me and said, how do you know him? I said, I've never seen him a day in my life, but he literally jumped in my arms, and she didn't really get it. But I'm like, it's hard to explain, but it's like when you are a part of a sports community, it's more than a game. It's bigger than sports. It's family, it's community. And so that's what that represented for me. So the reason it's so important to me is because when I was going through my worst times on planet Earth, when I was questioning if I mattered, or especially people who are from small town Americas all around can really identify with, man, can I really do something big in the world? Am I going to have a chance to make it, to go? And making it is defined in a lot of different ways. Everybody has their own definition of success, and that's good. But for me, can I do something that I deem to be significant on planet Earth coming from where I'm from? And seeing a kid from where I'm from that I saw in real life and I saw on TV taught me in my heart as a very small child that you can believe and you can achieve. If you can believe, you can achieve. And thus a love for Mississippi State University was born. But again, what I'm telling you is it's not about you loving Mississippi State. This is not a podcast for me to try to get you or convince you how much you should love who I love. What this is a podcast to talk to you about belief and how my belief was born, what forged in me connecting the dots that if he can, I can too. So now I sit here before you from that same little town that's not so little these days. I go back to Hernando, Mississippi, and I'm like, I almost don't recognize the place. I don't. And my wife is like, man, this is so cool to be back in the place you grew up. I'm like, it's kind of the place I grew up in. I mean, when I was there, when I graduated, it was like 4,000, 5,000 people in town. It's like 30 now. And 30,000 people is no big city by any stretch of the imagination. But if you go from the 2,000 it was when I was a little kid to 30,000, that's a lot of growth and it's a very different place than it was when I was a small child. Still a beautiful place, one of the top towns in America. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Hernando, Mississippi. Shout out to Mayor Chip Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my mom, who's a board member on the Chamber of Commerce. Shout out to the Hernando Chamber of Commerce. This might be the most airwaves they get. I don't know. You know, I'm just putting it out there, but there's gonna be how many people are gonna go and Google search Hernando, Mississippi now as a result of this podcast. I don't know, but it's a really cool place. They have one of the top farmers markets in all of America, that it runs from like April to October. So if you're ever in the Memphis, Tennessee area, you should swing by Hernando, Mississippi and hit the farmers market and get some real fresh, homemade, handmade goods that are on par with the best of them. But I sit here as a kid from that little place who dared to believe and who literally showed up in the world and changed not only my world, but I get messages every day since the book just came out. Shout out to those of you who haven't gone and gotten Because You Can yet. Go and get the new book, Because You Can. We're a few weeks in now, already another best-selling book, man. Go get your copy. Don't delay. Get your copy today. But I get messages every day from people talking about how much I inspire them, how much I impact them, how much I have been able to create an impact in their life, on their life. And that makes me feel incredible. But it all came from a little kid who did not believe, who was afraid, who was scared, who grew up with trauma all around and was able to see a reason to believe. And to this very day, Mississippi State still resorts in a supreme belief in me. Matter of fact, like if you go to a Mississippi State University game in the fourth quarter, they got a tradition where they turn the cell phone lights on and they play Don't Stop Believing and that was birthed years ago in the Dak Prescott days. And I remember when many of you know Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, but when he was at Mississippi State University, when college football switched from the BCS, which was where computers chose the champions, to a playoff system where a committee selected who they felt were the strongest teams. In the very first ever college football rankings that dropped, they did a whole TV show to describe who they felt the best teams in America were. Mississippi State debuted as the number one team in the very first ever college football ranking poll and held that spot for like the first 3 or 4 weeks. It wasn't until we played Alabama, who was like number 3. So we were number 1. They were like number 3. We played them and they beat us at their house 25-20. So a 5-point loss to Alabama switched us and then we dropped to like number 3. And so anyway, that was just, again, still believing, boldly believing that little Mississippi State is like many consider, you know, the little brother of the SEC, or one that's often looked over because Starkville, Mississippi isn't the biggest city. It's a college town through and through. It's a beautiful place with a beautiful people and a beautiful community. You should visit and maybe bring you some earbuds if you ever go to a game because it will be loud. Matter of fact, this fall, I am inviting all of my friends from Oklahoma who love the Oklahoma Sooners to come to Mississippi. Come to Starkville, Mississippi, and get you a ticket to see Mississippi State and your Oklahoma Sooners go at it, and bring your earbuds because it will be the loudest thing you have ever heard in your life, because how I got one of these and you know the noise this is capable of producing. Imagine another 50,000 of them side by side, and it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's glorious. It's the sweetest sound to a Mississippi State fan and the most annoying thing ever to everyone else. So, but ultimately, man, this episode is sentimental to me, obviously, but this episode is deep because it's about belief. Sports really teach us so many more lessons. Teams, being a part of teams, it teach us so many more lessons than just what's on the surface. And ultimately, this episode is about how I learned to believe and directly resulting in all of the people I've been able to impact, all of the people I've been able to inspire, all of the work I've been able to achieve and accomplish, the greatest, highest heights. This was what taught me how to believe that all of that was possible. And to this day, that's why I will forever ride for Mississippi State, because it's deeper. I don't have to have a degree from there for it to have taught me what believing looks like. And as a result of my believing, you're listening to this podcast. As a result of my believing, you read and you purchased the book. As a result of my believing, you went and built your own dream. As a result of my believing, you went and you made somebody else's life and you helped their dream become a reality. As a result of me believing, you went and you were able to create a legacy that outlives you on planet Earth. As a result of my believing, you believe, and as a result of you believing, someone else believes, and as a result of their belief, someone else believes, and as a result of all of our belief, the world is a better place. So shout out to Mississippi State for making the world a better place, and shout out to you for listening to this podcast. So now you know what to do. Don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. Go believe boldly and go build bigly, and you go make your dreams a reality, and you do it because you can. Straight like that, fam.